She hurled a soda at my face during a heated argument and burst into laughter. I simply wiped it off. It wasn't the first time she'd acted like that, but it was definitely the last. The argument was trivial, sparked by my lack of excitement for her friend's latest pyramid scheme. We were in the living room we'd shared for 2 years. The TV was off, the only sounds her yelling and then the splash of liquid. It was a chilled, sugary drink, trickling from my hair onto my shirt collar. Her laughter stung the most, not a nervous chuckle, but a loud, taunting cackle, as if I were a performer in her private circus. I stayed silent. For a moment, I stood there, the sticky liquid sliding down my cheeks, and just stared at her. Her name was Jenna. Her grin was wide and victorious. I turned, walked to the bathroom, and grabbed a towel. While drying my face, I could hear her giggles from the other room, probably texting her friends a dramatized version of the event. I snapped a photo of the dark splash marks on the light gray wall behind where I'd stood, timestamped at 9:14 p.m. on my phone. Then, I took another of the puddle on the hardwood floor. I cleaned up her mess, went to our bedroom, and shut the door. Our landlord, Mr. Henderson, was a no-nonsense, retired military man who owned 3 properties on our street and lived in one. He kept everything spotless and had a strict policy against drama. It was clearly stated in the lease we both signed. I had a digital copy saved in my email. I opened my laptop, pulled up the PDF, and scrolled to section 12B. Titled, Tenant Conduct. The clause was explicit. Any aggressive act, violent behavior, intimidation, or intentional property damage was grounds for immediate lease termination for the responsible party. I drafted a concise, professional email with the subject line, Incident Report, Apartment 3B. It read, Dear Mr. Henderson, I'm writing to report an incident that took place tonight at 9:14 p.m. During a verbal dispute, my co-tenant, Jenna M., threw a drink at me inside the apartment, causing a mess on the wall and floor. I've attached time-stamped photos for your reference. This isn't the first time her temper has led to physical actions, but it's the first time I've felt compelled to document it formally. I'm concerned about this recurring volatile behavior. Per Section 12B of our lease, I request your guidance on this matter. I attached the photos and sent the email. Then I packed a small bag. I wasn't staying there that night. I headed to my friend Mark's place. The next morning, Mr. Henderson replied at 7:30 a.m. His message was brief. Mr., my last name, thank you for informing me. I will address this. Expect a call from me later today. I went about my day. I ignored the dozen texts from Jenna, ranging from furious, Are you seriously ignoring me? Grow up, to falsely concerned, Are you okay? I'm worried. Around 4 p.m., Mr. Henderson called. It's handled, he said, his tone flat. I spoke with Ms. M. and personally delivered a 30-day eviction notice, citing violent behavior in violation of Tenant Conduct Policy 12B. She's solely responsible for vacating. Your lease will be updated to list you as the sole tenant once she's gone. I don't tolerate that kind of behavior in my properties. Let me know if there are further issues. I thanked him. He grunted and hung up. An hour later, my phone blew up. It was Jenna, screaming so loudly I had to hold the phone away from my ear. You got me evicted? Over a spilled drink? Are you out of your mind? I waited for her to pause. It wasn't spilled, Jenna. You threw it at me and laughed. I'm done. I hung up. She called 7 more times. I didn't pick up. Then the text started again, this time from her sister, Chloe, the more level-headed one. Her message read, What's going on? Jenna's hysterical, saying you got her kicked out. I replied. She threw a drink in my face and laughed. The landlord has a strict policy on that behavior. It was her choice. Chloe didn't respond for a while. Jenna's 30 days were a nightmare of passive-aggressive antics. She slammed doors, blasted music at odd hours, and scattered her belongings across shared spaces. I ignored it all, documenting everything with photos and brief notes, just in case. But I never needed to use them. I spent most of my time at Mark's, crashing on his couch. Dude, you did the right thing, Mark said one evening. That's not normal. People don't act like that. It helped to hear it from someone else. I knew it wasn't normal, but her outbursts had warped my sense of reality over time. On the last day of the month, she moved out while I was at work. I returned to a nearly empty apartment. Well, almost, she'd taken some of my things, a bookshelf, a nice lamp, and a set of quality kitchen knives. She'd also left a parting gift, a long, deep scratch on the living room wall where the couch had been, and a stack of unpaid utility bills, electricity, gas, and internet. All in her name. All overdue. I photographed the wall scratch. I collected the bills. Her share of the utilities totaled $287.54. Mr. Henderson later sent an estimate of $200 for the wall repair to be deducted from our shared security deposit, meaning she owed me another $100. Grand total, $387.54. I sent her a polite text with a clear breakdown. Jenna, here's your share of the final utilities and wall repair. $387.54. Please send by the end of the week. Her response was instant. Lol, you think I'm paying you a cent after you made me homeless? Screw you. I didn't reply. Instead, I paid the full utility bills to protect my credit and settled the wall repair cost directly with Mr. Henderson to ensure I'd get the full security deposit back. I saved all receipts as PDFs. The next day, I used my banking app to send a formal payment request for $387.54, with the memo, Final Utilities and Damages Reimbursement, App 3B. She declined it within minutes. I waited a week. Then I sent a formal letter via certified mail, old school, but it creates an undeniable paper trail. The letter listed the amount owed, included copies of all receipts, and gave her 10 business days to pay before I'd pursue other options. I got the delivery confirmation, so I knew she received it. She didn't respond. My next step was small claims court. The filing fee in my county was $50. I completed the online paperwork, uploading the PDFs of the receipts, the lease's damage clause, the payment request screenshot, and the certified mail confirmation. I presented the facts plainly, without emotion. A week later, she was served with a court appearance notice. That's when Chloe called, sounding drained. She just called me, sobbing and screaming that you're suing her. Over less than $400? Seriously. I stayed calm. Chloe, it's not about the money. It's about accountability. She agreed to pay her share. She caused damage. She thinks she can just walk away from her obligations. I'm not letting that slide. I outlined my steps, the polite text, the payment request, the certified letter. I told her Jenna ignored every attempt. I'm not trying to ruin her life, I said. I'm just holding her accountable. There was a long silence. She told us you were controlling and kicked her out for no reason, Chloe said softly. She didn't mention the drink, the bills, or the wall. I replied, I have photos of everything, Chloe. She sighed. I believe you, she said. I'm sorry you're going through this. My sister, she tends to create her own version of reality. We ended the call on good terms. That conversation felt more significant than the money. A few days later, Jenna's social media campaign began. She didn't name me, but it was clear who she meant. She posted vague updates about escaping a toxic, controlling relationship and starting over after being thrown out. Her friends, knowing only her side, flooded the comments with support. You're so brave. His loss. We're here for you. It was sickening to read. Mark saw it and called, outraged for me. You're letting her get away with this? Post your side. Share the receipts. I refused. Engaging online is what she wants, I said. It fuels her drama. It makes me look as petty as she is. I'm not playing her game. My approach was simpler. We had a few mutual friends I genuinely valued. I didn't want them thinking I was a villain. I created a group chat with 3 of them, 2 couples we used to hang out with. My message was straightforward. Hey, I know you've seen Jenna's posts. I'm not airing drama publicly, but since I value our friendships, I want you to have the facts from me. I attached 4 items. The soda splash photo, Mr. Henderson's eviction email citing violent behavior, Jenna's go F*** yourself text about the bills, and a screenshot of her post claiming she was evicted for no reason. I ended with, she threw a drink at me, refused to pay her bills, and was evicted per a lease clause she signed. I've had to take her to small claims court for utilities she used. That's the truth. Hope you're all doing well. The response was instant. Sarah wrote, oh my gosh, I had no idea. She said you had a minor fight, and you overreacted. Her husband added, that's messed up. Thanks for the truth. The other couple agreed. Within an hour, 4 people knew the real story. I didn't ask them to pick sides or confront her. I just shared the evidence. The fallout was subtle but quick. One friend later told me Sarah privately asked Jenna why her story contradicted my proof. Jenna reportedly exploded, accusing Sarah of betrayal. That friendship ended. Jenna's social circle, which she'd turned against me, began to unravel, not because of my words, but because her actions were exposed. The real victory came a week before the court date, when Chloe called, furious, not at me. She tried borrowing money from our parents to pay you, she said. She claimed you were suing her out of spite and harassing her. She lied to them completely. I was there and couldn't stay silent. I told them everything, the drink, the bills, the wall. I showed them your texts. My dad was livid. He told her to grow up and take responsibility. He refused to give her a dime. Jenna had screamed at Chloe, calling her a traitor. They hadn't spoken since. So she's cut me off, Chloe said, her voice heavy. But honestly, it's a relief. I'm done covering for her. I hope you get your money. On court day, I arrived in a button-up shirt, carrying a neat folder with all my documents. Jenna was already there, outside the courtroom, dressed dramatically in all black, typing furiously on her phone. She glared at me, but said nothing. When our case was called, we entered. The judge, an older woman who seemed to have seen it all, had a no-nonsense demeanor. She asked me to present my case. I stood, calmly laying out the facts. I showed the lease, the wall photos, the utility bills, proof I'd paid them, screenshots of my attempts to collect from Jenna, and the certified mail confirmation. I kept it to the financial issues, omitting the drink-throwing incident, and wrapped up in about 2 minutes. It was a clear case of unpaid debt and property damage. The judge turned to Jenna. Ms. M., your response? Jenna stood and launched into a tearful, scattered tale about how I was a manipulative ex-out to destroy her. She claimed I'd been emotionally abusive, evicted her without warning, and that this lawsuit was harassment. She said the bills were fake and the wall scratch was pre-existing. The judge listened impassively. When Jenna finished, she reviewed my documents. Holding up the scratch photo, she asked, "You say this was pre-existing, Ms. M? Was it noted on your move-in inspection?" Jenna faltered. "Well, no, we didn't do one." The judge pointed to the lease. "This is your signature, agreeing to pay for damages upon move-out, correct?" Jenna mumbled, "Yes." The judge examined the utility bills. "These cover your time in the apartment, correct?" Jenna admitted they did. "And you have no proof you paid your share?" "He was supposed to handle it," Jenna tried. "That's not what the bills say," the judge countered. "The account is in your name." The electricity bill was indeed in Jenna's name. An oversight I hadn't corrected earlier, but it worked in my favor now. Her defense collapsed. The judge paused, then said, "This is a straightforward case of unpaid shared expenses. The plaintiff's evidence is clear and documented. The defendant's testimony is emotional but lacks any factual basis or evidence to counter the claim." She struck her gavel. Judgment for the plaintiff. $387.54 plus the $50 filing fee. Total, $437.54. Payment instructions will be mailed, Ms. M. Do not delay. Jenna stood there, stunned, mouth agape. I gathered my papers, said, "Thank you, Your Honor," and left. I didn't look back. Driving home, I felt no thrill or triumph, just calm. It was over. The judgment was a piece of paper affirming the facts mattered. That was worth more than the $437.54. Weeks later, a check for the full amount arrived from the court collections office. She'd paid, likely spurred by the threat of further action. I used the money to replace the stolen bookshelf and lamp. The apartment began to feel like mine. The atmosphere shifted, peaceful, serene. One evening, as I sat reading on the couch, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I hope you're satisfied. You ruined my life over a few $100. You're a sad, lonely man, and you always will be." It was obviously Jenna. I stared at the message, reflecting on the months of anger, stress, and drama. I thought of her mocking laughter as soda dripped down my face. None of it could reach me anymore. I blocked the number. The apartment was silent, and for the first time in ages, it truly felt like home.